Hello, I'm Nana Wrinklewings and welcome to Whimsical Rhymes and Tales. You see, within these wings there are wrinkles and crinkles, crumples and rumples. And I like to think that within each wrinkle there's a story I can share with you. Today's story is about a surfing dolphin named Kiki. Now, I'm sure you're wondering how a dolphin would ever end up surfing the sea with a computer, right? Well, actually, dolphins are quite intelligent. And with our big imagination, I have my imagination hat on, we're going to read this story today. So let's get started. Are you ready? It all started one spring day. My mom and I were having an awesome time just surfing along and occasionally showing off for some humans by leaping high in the air and then nose diving into the sea because that's what humans like to see. Well, I didn't have a care in the world except maybe trying to keep up with my mama because I was still pretty young. Then something happened. Suddenly, something changed, and I couldn't move. And I tried to wiggle, and there was something all tangled around me. I was really scared, and I searched frantically to free myself. Well, I could hear my mom fearfully making all kinds of noise as she flapped loudly about in the water, trying to draw attention to the humans in a passing boat. I tried and tried to untangle myself, but then I realized I was injured. Well, a boat circled, and they looked curiously at my mom, and they were trying to figure out why she seemed so distressed. And then they spotted me. Well, cutting the fishing net from my body took a long time, and I cried out for my mom as I continued to flap noisily about in fear. Finally, I was free. I was so weak. Well, the humans, they carefully transported me to a nearby marine rehab center, where other humans took me in and they started caring for my wounds. Weeks passed. Slowly, I regained my strength, and every day I could hear my mama outside the pool just waiting for me. But then one day her voice stopped. I waited and I waited, knowing that she would never leave me. But the wind that had previously carried her sounds back to me, no longer whispered her cries. Maybe she thought I would never come out. I felt lost. Well, I soon learned to love my humans. They became my family. They took care of me, and I even understood some of their voices. I watched them daily, playing behind a small black box, and I wondered what it was in that black box that held their interest. They would look at me, and then they'd look back at their box. I was very curious. What were they doing? So even though my humans were kind, there was still something missing. I missed my mother. I missed the sea. I missed the fun times that I had surfing, so carefree. I did love my humans, but something just didn't feel right. And then it happened. My humans, they decided I was well enough to leave them and return to the sea. Well, they looked sad as they once more worked behind their small black boxes. And I could see that sadness in their eyes, and I could hear it in their voices. They snuggled with me one last time, and then they opened up the gates to the sea. I looked at them and I hesitated, not knowing what to do. How can I leave my humans behind? They're all I have left. Where will I go? I thought to myself. I turned one last time to look back at those who had cared for me. And I looked out at the vast waters in front of me, and then at a passing boat. Boats. I was thankful for boats, so I leaped high in the air, and then I dove into the sea once more. It felt good, even though I was a little timid. But I felt free. My curiosity about the world kicked in as I began to search for my mother. Before long, I met up with other dolphins, just doing their thing in the sea as the sun kissed the waters. But my curiosity led me off in a different direction because I needed to find my mother, even though I enjoyed playing with them. The sun waved goodbye with the soft glow of colors as the darkness fell upon the waters, and I floated on my back, just staring up at the stars and the moon. I called out in the quiet of the night for my mother, but no one answered. Soon, dawn broke, and I could see humans in their boats with nets. Oh, the nets frightened me. I needed to stay away from the nets. I quickly dove into the sea and I swam from them. The humans, however, reminded me of those who had cared for me. Their kindness, their laughter, their praise, their touch. I did miss their touch. Days went by. The air chilled with the autumn breezes, but the October sun remained warm. I watched the seagulls and the pelicans dip into the sea for their meals, and I loved watching the different shapes of clouds as they floated across the sky, and the moist raindrops that churned up the water around me. I wanted to know all about the different kinds of birds. At night, I asked the moon so many questions, like, why do the stars twinkle back at me? And why are some bigger and brighter than others? I asked the moon about the many shapes that he had, and how did he know to disappear when the sun comes up? I even asked if he'd seen my mother. He never really answered me, but he did smile down at me, and I felt like I had a friend. Then one day, the world seemed different somehow. The birds, they were circling around me, and they didn't seem to know which way to fly. And the waves, they got bigger and bigger, and the sky, it grew dark. What was happening? Well, fear once set in again, and I asked the snowy egrets, have you seen my mother? They shook their heads. I asked the pigeons and the storks, have you seen my mother? No one had seen her. I really wanted to be able to fly high in the sky so I could see the entire sea. I tried my best to fight the strong currents. Where were all the humans and their boats? Something was very wrong. Why were the clouds in the sky so dark? The wind picked up and the waves, they beat against my body, and the surf carried me for what seemed like miles. Where were my humans? The ones who had cared for me and protected me. I needed to be protected now. Where is my mother? I struggled to stay afloat, and I tried diving deeper into the sea. Finally, the waters calmed, and I looked around. Where am I? I closed my eyes. I was so tired. I took a nap. Hours passed. I drifted into the water, unaware of my surroundings. Hunger finally set in, and I searched for my meal. What was that? I saw something in the water ahead of me. I squinted, trying to see. Is it human? Yes, it's a human. It had been a long time, and I missed them so much. As I floated closer, the human dove into the water as if to hide from me. I dove into the water. Well, this is fun. I remembered the fun that I used to have. The human's long hair and friendly smile made me smile. We played for hours each day in the sea. The days passed as we giggled and we played hide and seek. And then one day, the human swam to the shore and rested on a white sandy beach. I can't do that, I thought, as I swam closer to the beach. Wait, my human looks different from the humans I know. I stretched my neck and I tried to glide a little closer. This human has fins. I moved closer. Good morning, I'm Phoebe, and you are? I looked around. Was she talking to me? Oh, why, of course she was talking to me. I thought for a moment. I'm Kiki. It was the name that the humans called me. It's the only name I know. Hi, Kiki, the strange human repeated. I'm a mermaid. A what? I thought. What is that? Well, why are you out here all alone? She asked. I told her my story. Have you seen my mother? No, Kiki, I'm sorry. I've asked everyone I've seen, but no one's seen her. Do you have a mother? Yes, of course, she answered. Where is she? We live in the abandoned boat on the cove, over where the sea rushes in. Where do you live, Kiki? I don't know, I answered sadly. Do you know where I am now? Let me show you tomorrow. I will meet you here and we'll try to find your mother, she said. Phoebe left. Mermaid, I thought. What's a mermaid? I waited patiently by the sand for the strange human to reappear. The tide rushed in and then out. Will she ever come back? I wondered how my mermaid could help me find my mother. I tried to sleep. When I opened my eyes again, my mermaid Phoebe was sitting on a rock near the sea. You're back, I squealed with excitement. Yes, and I asked something that might help you find your mother, she said. Really? I looked at the small black box that she held in her hands. It looked strangely familiar. When I was hurt, all of my humans would stare at a small black box just like yours for hours. What is it? It's a computer. I found it on the boat where we live, she replied. A computer? What's that? It's a black box that holds the answers to many questions about the world, she said. Really? Yes. What kind of things? Can it tell me where my mother is now? I needed to know. I hope so, she answered. Is there anything in there about me? Let's see. She searched for answers. Yes, she held the black box up so that I could see a picture of a dolphin. I was so excited that I splashed around in the water. What about jellyfish and birds and the moon and the stars? I asked. I was so curious about everything in the world, and I couldn't believe that that little black box held all those answers. What about you? Does it talk about humans? Yes, she said, smiling. Humans helped me when I was hurt. What does it say? What would you like to know? She asked. Everything. I want to know everything. Where did my humans live? Do they miss me? Why does it get dark at night? Why does it get cold and windy? And why are waves so big at times? And what are those colored flowers around your neck? I looked around. Why is your hair so long? Why are you not in the water with me? I need to stay in the water. Kiki, you have so many questions. It would take days to search for all those answers, and you really need to find your mother. I dropped my head. Yes, I do. So does that tell you how I can do that? Because I really need to find my mother. Phoebe looked at the black box. Here, you search with me. And she tilted the computer so that I could see. This is where we are right now. Wow, I said excitedly. Let me search more for dolphins. She found the site and she began to read. Each dolphin has a specific sound. It's their unique way of communicating with each other. We do? I didn't know that. She continued. It's a clicking sound, and they have their own signature whistle that can be heard by others in their species miles away. They can remember another dolphin's whistle even when they've spent a long time apart. So my mother would know if she heard me? But how do I know where she might be? Phoebe continued. Dolphins travel in pods. They're extremely intelligent and they are adept at using tools. They can use a series of clicks and it allows them to find other dolphins. Well, I was starting to believe that I would be able to find my mother one day. Phoebe, you've given me hope. I'm glad. You know, the sun is starting to set. I must go, she said softly. But we've been having so much fun, I hesitated. But how do I find my mother, Phoebe, I asked. And who will you play with when I leave? I don't know, Phoebe said quietly. She would miss her friend. Well, what about all the other humans on the beach? I'm different from them, she said. Why would you say that? I don't know. I don't look like them. They wouldn't want to play with me. Nonsense, Phoebe. Humans are nice. They helped me, right? Yes. There's nothing wrong with being different. Look at you and me. We're different. We're friends. Come on, give it a try. Maybe you're right, but what if you're wrong? She was uncertain. Phoebe, you'll never know until you try. Don't be afraid to be yourself. You're special. They will like you. I'll miss you, Kiki. I will always remember you. You were there when I needed a friend to play with. What if I give you this computer? You would give me your black box? Yes, I think you need it more than I do. You have so many unanswered questions, and besides, it might help you find your mother. With that, she dove into the water and swam away. But I called after her. I wasn't sure she could hear me. I'll miss you, Phoebe. I'll miss you. Once again, I felt lonely and sad, and I looked around. I looked at the sea. I looked back at the small black box. I guess it's you and me now, black box. I picked it up. Maybe you can help me find my mother. The sun's rays were nearly gone as it disappeared into the sea. I rolled over on my back and I opened the black box and I typed in the word sun as I watched the awesome colors stream across the horizon. Days went by and I learned to love my new friend, the black box. As Phoebe said, it had answers to many questions, and I floated about surfing the web, reading all about the world around me. Every day I would call out for my mother, hoping that she would hear me, and every night I would find comfort in the moon and the stars. But it was in the quiet of the night that I whistled loudly, as I had for weeks. No answer. And then it happened. I heard a splashing of water behind me as I turned to see what was happening. There, right before my eyes, was my mother. She soared high into the air and then she landed right next to me, clapping the water loudly while clicking and whistling. Mama! I couldn't believe it. I let out this crazy loud squeak in my dolphin tongue as I snuggled close to her once more. My search had ended, for once more I was by her side. I had learned so much along the way, though. I would never stop learning. told my mother about my adventure, and I showed her my black box. I would miss my humans, but I was finally home. I hope you liked Kiki's story.